Hey guys, SuperHolo1 here. Welcome back to another video, and today we have for you guys it's a new LEGO train. For me, it's about a month old. Initially, the first video of this was going to be like a video of me building it. Like, it's basically like a vlog format, almost. I would take videos while I was building it, and like it would start at the frame, and by the end of the video, it would be fully built, and it'd be like a couple days later. My hope was to put all those videos together and upload it to YouTube. We'll all see how that turned out. So here we are a month later with a video that I finally decided to make of this lovely little train that's absolutely adorable. Alright, so this is based on a New York Central electric locomotive, classified as an S2 electric. They were one of the first mainline electric locomotives that were used, and the reason they were needed was because steam engines were banned from going underneath of New York City after a couple accidents that they caused because they used steam and produced smoke and soot, and it's not fun. So they needed electric trains to go underneath of New York City, so they designed the S-Series, the New York Central did. They designed the S-Series of electric locomotives, and I believe there was the S1, S2, S3, and S4s. This is based on an S2, and you can kind of see the similarities, but it's also very, like, free built. Like, it doesn't have a main base structure. It's just kind of a thing that I needed to build because I wanted a train that could negotiate switches, which is something my mountain class can't do. So, yeah, it actually looks really nice, and I'm kind of proud of myself for having done it in 4 days. But because it was done in 4 days, it needs a lot of work that eventually will get done when I have free time again. Alright, so this is the bottom of it. This engine has a lot of really cool things that I like. One of it being that there's no real clear studs on the top. The other are the drive wheels. And if you do not recognize them, that is fine, because these are not standard LEGO drivers. They are custom designed and 3D printed drive wheels that are meant specifically for this locomotive and nothing else. So, yeah, I needed a drive wheel that was larger than the wheels that I used on the front and the back truck, but also I could make flangeless, so I could negotiate switches. So, yeah, I designed my own, and they actually look really nice. The other thing you may notice is that there's gears in the drivetrain, because this uses a LEGO XL motor, because I have 2 of them, and I wanted to use one. So I did, and its main purpose was because I wanted to use it. Its secondary purpose was I wanted to give it a lot of pulling power. However, there's a massive issue with this. It doesn't have traction tires. It's also really small and light. So, wheel slip is a thing. So it can only pull, like, one of my passenger cars, like, consistently. 2 of them it can kind of do, but that's really pushing it. I have not tested it on my R88 turns that I got for Christmas. But yeah, and also, if you have a LEGO Emerald Knight, this drivetrain configuration you may recognize because it is extremely similar to the one on the Emerald Knight, except that both axles are powered, or they have access to power. And if you want your Emerald Knight to run better, this is a modification I made, and it makes it work like infinitely better. It's a heck of a lot smoother. Basically, you just copy the one that's already there, put it on the other side, and switch the gear so that, or switch the side of the axle that the gear is on. That way, both the wheels go the same way. Yeah, and also these bits of side detailing are extremely fragile. But you know, if they weren't, I wouldn't have built it. So, the day I build a LEGO model that doesn't have something that breaks off, the second you go to touch it, is the day that the world ends, because all of my models are extremely fragile. So one of the great things about building an electric locomotive like this is that the front and the back are pretty much identical. So you really only have to build one side and then just copy it over. The issue is trying to figure out what side's the front and what side's the back. On the inside, it's easy. The front has a motor, the back has a battery. On the outside, the only real difference is the headlight color. The front is white and the back is red. And if you're really good at seeing things, the receiver is slightly towards the back. So if I wanted to, I can make that back headlight white and make it a little bit more realistic, but this engine's so unrealistic that I don't really care. It's mainly, the only reason I built it was to go around switches. And eventually, I might actually use it as a main engine when I can figure out how to put traction tires on the wheels, which will probably require a complete redesign of the wheel, which is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm not going to be doing that right now, and maybe not in the near future, but eventually I will. Alright, so as I said, the battery is in the back and the motor is in the front, and you could probably see that the receiver is in the middle. So to get to the battery, this top thing comes off. I already detached it because getting it off is a pain and oftentimes it breaks. So, as it did when I took it off before this shot. But anyway, there's the battery. You may notice that it's not one of the rechargeable LEGO batteries. It actually requires, like, AAA batteries. However, the AAA batteries that are in it are rechargeable. So technically, it's a rechargeable, non-rechargeable battery. Technicalities. Yeah, so that's that. And then in the middle is the receiver and the main gear. So the motor's behind that wall that I'm using as structure to hold the gears in place. But yeah, that's the receiver. It's a lot easier to change the channels on this than it is on the Mountain class. So that shouldn't be too much of an issue. I shouldn't need some kind of like rod thing to flip the switch. So that's very convenient. Alright, so that's pretty much all there is to it. So now I get to run it. Fun, and hope and pray that it works. Basically, I'm just going to run it around the loop, and then back it into the siding and pick up the baggage car and run it for a little bit more. There's not a whole lot to this loop, so I won't be doing a lot of, like, cinematic shots, if you so choose to call them that. It's probably just going to stay in this view. So, yeah, let's hope it works. That's top speed. Not the fastest thing, but it gets the job done. Alright, so just to prove what I said earlier about this thing being small, I had the Mountain class down, and you can see it finally has numbers on it. I finally took the time to measure out how big they needed to be and figure out all the basic stuff that I needed to give my engineering teacher so that he could make it look really, really good, and he did, and I can't thank him enough for it. But it's now clearly numbered 6759. Which is the number of the Lionel one that my dad has that I basically based the entire train on. But yeah, that's a thing. So, you know how big this engine is, probably from some of my previous videos. So I am now going to bring up the switcher and show you guys how tiny it is compared to this thing. Yeah, it's small for 8 wide. Um, it's not the smallest thing I have, but I also have a lot of 6 wide trains. Um, and it's certainly not the smallest thing I've ever built. Or train wise anyway. I built a really small narrow gauge, not really narrow gauge, just a really small little switcher engine, like steam engine, a long time ago. It has since been dismantled, but it was really cute and it was really small. Um, it was probably about like half the length of the switcher. So putting it next to the mountain class would be like the mountain class would dwarf it. Um, but yeah, so that's just the proof of concept for size. Uh, so yeah, that's my little switcher engine that I will eventually, hopefully, be building freight cars for, so that I can pull it. Um, and eventually, there will be another update video for the mountain class once I get around to doing that. But for right now, I am CW Hollow One, and have a good day, or maybe good night in your case. See ya.